All right, 4:30, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see everyone. I think Ms. Teeter said she wasn't going to be here, but sometimes she has a tendency to sneak in late, so it's nice to see a full house. Miss Kathy, we missed you.
Oh, thank you.
We had a wonderful time. It was a beautiful turnout. I think everyone should have been happy with not just the turnout, but we were fed a lot of information, and it was nice that it was educated information, right? People did their homework before they stood in front of us and spoke, and that was I know that was a concern for some at one point, but they definitely dispelled that notion because it was they were prepared and gave us a bit of everything from all bookends. The first agenda item, number 2, approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
First and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes, minutes approved. Agenda item 3, new business. We'll discuss that public hearing that we had. First of all, I guess I could say that not that we expected anybody to not be on their best behavior, other than maybe Miss Aiken a little bit, but everybody was on their best behavior, and I got a lot of feedback from people, and they were just thankful that the committee was in there to listen. And people feel sometimes they're not heard, and this committee did a very good job of not taking sides and listening, and like we said in the meeting, with an open mind, and I think everyone went in there with that. And I know Pam was happy, city staff was happy, and the committee should have been happy. I think that was a good turnout for the city. Does anybody want? Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think there was that good turnout? It's because there wasn't a lot of advertisements. I think it was word of mouth. I'm just curious.
I think, I can't speak for everybody, but I think word of mouth, and it is a topic of discussion that's kind of touched a lot of municipalities and cities and counties, and it's in Clearwater as well. And once that leads the mouths of, former city council members and former city mayors, and, there's a lot of people that it draws attention to, and we got a good turnout. Somebody else maybe.
Well, and it actually was advertised pretty well.
Oh, really?
The NAACP put it out in their newsletter. The CNC put it out they put out a special request for people to come. I know we at the chamber put it out at least twice, so people did know.
Can I say, I got in touch with the CNC to make sure they would, because I felt it was a short notice. And plus then I also spoke to my neighbors, and one, I told him he would really reap terrible repercussions, and he did not show. So there
He
you
not only showed, he got up and spoke.
Oh,
He
did he?
represented you well.
Hard to believe by him, but anyway, good. And he's not related to me, so it's okay. Good.
So let's go ahead and open up the floor on that. I think we're hoping that we can make headway on this topic. I know as a committee, I don't want to say we've exhausted it, but we've really covered a lot of aspects of it. We've all learned a lot. I think we've getting to that time where we're putting now 7 and 8 sessions complete into it. So hopefully as a committee we can come to some sort of consensus and agreement and start moving forward and get beyond that topic, because I know we do have a lot of stuff on the agendas ahead of us. So with that said, does anybody want to open the floor and advance that discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I like the idea of the 7 council members with a mayor and 2 members at large and the rest districts. I like that. Sorry.
I would like to say in that letter that you forwarded to us from us that Mr. or Miss, I don't know, Jerry Lee wrote. I wasn't real crazy about the council. He suggested, I think, 3 elected, and then the council direct, picking them, and I would go, oh no.
And that's something that we could not legally do anyway.
Okay.
Mr. Jerry Lee's recommendations that elected officials be appointed in the whole city. You can't do that.
I was thinking of democracy, I think. Yeah, so everybody needs, and if you use your vote, then you feel, you gotta get that away from me.
Yes, ma'am.
It seemed like most of the people I got this vote are districting, and most of them wanted 7. That was pretty clear. I walked away with that. There were little variations that we didn't get in the minutes here, generally speaking.
sir.
I have my notes, and I wrote down the highlight of what people said, and it was districts and it was 7, but the majority of people were 6 districts and the mayor. And then I had, some people were a couple people were 4-2-1, 4 districts, 2, but the majority of people, now, one person who mentioned 6 and 1, but that was Howard, and he also mentioned that he'd been in districts, non-districts, and went back and forth, and he mentioned why. Frank Hibbert was 4-2-1. One person, Patrick Rafferty, was 5-1-1. And then I had Karen Cunningham, 6-1. Mr. Santana from the Latino community, he just mentioned districts, but he didn't, unless I missed it, I didn't get hard numbers, he just said districts. He was, Kathleen Beckman was, she was a 4-2-1, but she would rule out 6-1, but she was majority 4-2-1. Zeb Atkinson from the NAACP was, I didn't take any notes. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe he was 6-1. I can't say for sure. My notes are clear. But I think I had him as 9. And then the other person, Gary Lee, was talking about like expanded 6-1s. I wrote down 6-1s that opposes districts and data proves otherwise. I don't understand that. It's just what he means by expanded 6-1. I've looked at minutes. And then Robert Maya moved here in 06. Delaware Grove. He was the guy that was well spoken. I said, join us. He mentioned 6-1. So it was 7, but the majority was 6-1, not 4-2-1 or 5-1-1. And that's just a small sampling of that of our residents.
Yes, sir.
I think I'd like to point out that Mr. Atkinson specifically suggested, among the options that we provided in the material, he specifically suggested alternative to option B, with the council elected at large with district residency requirement and the mayor elected separately at large. He specifically noted that option.
I spoke to him as well this week, and he wanted to make clear that from the NAACP, not just his opinion, it's from his organization standpoint, and that's exactly what he said. It was a residency requirement that he wanted, not necessarily, you know, breaking it down into districts and you voting for only your district. He thought that a residency requirement for 4 of the seats, 2 of them being at large, and then obviously a mayoral
And I
seat.
thought that was an interesting suggestion because you don't take away basically the requirement for a candidate to be elected by all the citizens of Clearwater. And yet at the same time, you ensure that certain communities are represented. Which I think was the goal
You're okay?
to begin with, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
But I think part of what we were saying before was that one of the reasons that we liked districting was to open up, to take away some of the cost involved with running, to try to make it more attainable for people who didn't have $15,000 for a campaign or whatever, which districting and then them being elected in their district would help lower the cost of it. But here, they still have to campaign for the whole entire city. To me, that's a little, to me,
Yeah.
it just seems like not accomplishing maybe one of the things that we were hoping for.
I think we need to, you know, put those checklists on, and a lot of the things we heard is, you know, areas of geographic locations not having representation or feeling that they're represented, right, as well as maybe giving a equitable opportunity for people that don't have that opportunity to run, not necessarily run, but to elect their candidate, right? But then the negatives were that when you start to piece it up like that, you start creating wards, and you start creating the trade-offs, and that were some of the things we heard. But I think that in doing your residency requirement, it checks that box of representation, right? Your geographic representation. But it also has that ability to remove breaking that city into pieces so that you still have a holistic approach and concern for a city's good and not just your individual block per se.
And if I can follow up, And the cost of running a campaign is not lost. And I totally see your point, and it's absolutely valid, because anyone running for office would still have to come up with a significant amount of money to run a campaign. At the same time, if you have single-member districts where only the folks in the district are allowed to vote for that district seat, what happens if no one from that particular district decides to vote? So, to me, that's one of the biggest concerns, is what happens if no one decides to run? Because as the charter stands now, I believe the council would appoint someone.
Not if, excuse me, I made a hand.
Please.
Not if no one decides to run. We don't address that. I think the closest we come to addressing is that if you have someone, if a vacancy occurs or something happens to the candidate, we extend qualifying as long as we can. And if we can't, then I think you would have to, because of the length of the vacancy, which would be 4 years, I think you'd have to try again. Now, we can also draft some language to deal with it, but I don't think you want to appoint someone for 4 years. Because currently we do not do 4-year appointments.
Mr. Lowe's?
Well, I like to have reasons to make a change, and 5 is okay with me at this point in time, unless there's a good reason not to. And the best I've heard was actually, as described by Bruce Rector, on the difficulty of walking door to door citywide, and obviously the expense of printing enough door handles or signs or whatever if you're running citywide. So the way to make it possible for people that don't have a lot of accumulated wealth to do this is to let them run in their own district. But as was explained during our meeting by Howard Warshauer, you can end up with a situation where there's nobody that runs from a particular district. Now, I think if we went to 4-2-1, we're really just carving the city into 4 pieces, 4 districts. So it's a pretty wide swath. I'm not too afraid of that happening. If we started doing it into like 10 districts, well, then we got a really serious problem. But I think we could even put in a change that the qualifying period would be X date. And if nobody qualifies for a particular district, we extend it for 2 weeks. And then anybody can run at large, add an additional at-large seat to cover the missing district seat. So every election period, the individual community that represents that 25% of the city could put up their person. But if they think things are just running just fine, in my own experience with condo boards, you know that things are going great when people are not trying to get elected, right? And so little d democracy. And so if the community is fine and they don't care who represents them, then we elect that person citywide from any residents in the city. So I think we could handle that. I've just heard no other reason expressed during all the time we've talked about it, other than the difficulty that Bruce explained, walking, raising money, dealing with those issues. Otherwise, I'm fine to just keep the council at 5.
Yes, sir.
The one thing, you may or may not have been here, but the one thing was brought up about going to 7, though, was because the amount of time that the council members now have with all the subcommittees compared to back in the day when they were a lot less busy and we're trying to spread out some of the load. It was just briefly touched on because apparently people are putting in a pretty extensive amount of time. And I guess there wasn't as many committees or things that some of the council members did in the 60s or 70s or whatever. Maybe towns were more, just central. But we're trying to spread out that load of work a little bit. But I think it's also to try to include more people. But I do know one community where if nobody ran and it's never happened, we might be close to 20,000 people a district. Now, not everybody in the district can run, but if you did 120,000 people. But one community was if nobody ran in that district, the highest vote getter, not elected, from like one of the other districts, got the job. I mean, and they just said, okay, theoretically, you could have the 2 highest vote getters in one district, and one wins and one doesn't. but they just said whoever, he got 10 votes less, if he's the highest vote getter, that he elected, or he or she's in. Then you don't have to go, I do like your idea though about saying, okay, you guys aren't gonna represent it, no one's from District C or D or A or whatever, okay, now anybody can run. Maybe someone who's qualified in another district transfers over. Either one, but I like that highest vote getter but the community I'm thinking of has never happened.
Mr. Addison and Ms. Lynch, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, we've been talking about increasing the number of representatives to 7, how they're elected. I don't really care, or I don't have an opinion on that yet. However, I'm concerned about how we district. That could be a very confusing and contentious process, as well as expensive. Maybe you can shed some light on how the districts would be created.
Typically, the charter will have some process outlined, and it may be further refined in an ordinance. I brought St. Pete's just for a point of reference because St. Pete also has a system current to, similar to what Mr. Atkinson was talking about. The council, in our case, since we don't have a strong mayor, would establish a committee. The committee would make a recommendation to the council, who then adopts the districts. And it's typically done every 10 years after the census report is available, and the lines are usually drawn around precincts because that's how people vote. And there usually is a lot of community involvement in that as well. But we would establish that process. The basics we could do by charter, and then the refinements you would do by ordinance, and the adoption is going to be by council.
Are there established guidelines for how it's done?
Yes. Typically they have to be compact, roughly the same population. And there are other criteria.
They do that statewide, but it doesn't seem to be very fair.
The state doesn't necessarily, the state will do interesting things like have long tails and do other things like that that's kind of weird. Yeah, which Dr. Payne mentioned, but presumably, and St. Pete's an example, the ordinance does not allow you to do that. The ordinance says compact wherever possible, similar size wherever possible. So you would have criteria in your ordinance that hopefully would prevent things like you can see in other states and even in Florida. And remember, we are nonpartisan, and usually when you see those strange kind of things, those are partisan activities, which is, it's just the way it works. But we're nonpartisan, so it wouldn't be done based on party, presumably. St. Pete, I think, is a good example of what Zeb was talking about, and they're right in the middle of their primary season now. We wouldn't have to do it by primary. You run from the district, top 2 vote getters in that district, then are elected at large. So you can either do the way they did it, which is have the primary and have the top 2 vote getters, or the way, the example that he actually used, you just run and the prevailing person wins. And since we do plurality, unless we changed that, you still only need 1 election, so you have 3 candidates, 2 candidates, 1 candidate from that district, and the person who gets the most vote prevails.
Yeah, that's the process of election.
Yes.
I'm concerned about the process of dividing the city up into districts.
The council would do that, based on a committee action, and criteria that would be adopted by code.
So that's the current council divides it up.
The then existing council at the time that you do the dividing In this case, after the census comes out, the 2020 census, then that committee would be convened, and it would be convened for the next election. So even if you recommended districts now, it wouldn't be for the 2020 election, because that would not have passed. So the implementation of that would start, and we'll talk about that piece too, in 2022. So the districts would be done either in 2020 or soon thereafter, in time for that 2022 election.
Okay.
Ms. Lynch?
Well, I just want to get back to your point about why increase to 7, and I think it's noteworthy that the point that was repeated over and over again that I heard was that it would increase citizen representation, not just changing to district rate, but also increasing to 7. People use both those to increase citizen representation and to represent the unique neighborhoods in Clearwater. And I heard that a lot. I thought it was important to bring up here because there was a lot of talk at that meeting about why are you doing this? And it was like to increase voter turnout, to decrease cost of the election, but also it was a significant point raised by several people that there needs to be greater citizen representation and greater neighborhood representation on the council.
Yes, sir.
I think what you just said was important. One of the most important things I heard was that. And Mayor Hibbert, before he said the 421, essentially, I talked to him outside of that meeting. He's not sure if we're going to achieve the outcomes we're desiring by expanding the council going to districts, and that was his caution to us before we got to that. Was some of these things that you're talking about districting there, once we are there, you can't control any of that. So some of these goals and objectives, more diversity on the council, lowering the cost for running and all that, maybe changes will affect that, maybe they won't. But you can't guarantee, and sometimes these changes we propose may have unintended consequences, things that we never would want to end up happening. So I think we need to approach it with caution in that regard. But for me, expanding the council goes to what you said earlier, spreading the workload, more representation across the city. Those are the things that I think that expanding the council and going to districts would achieve. These other things that we're talking about, I'm just not sure we can trust that would be the outcome of the changes.
Yes, sir.
The only problem with 421 does not accomplish that goal of expanding representation of neighborhoods. Because when you think about it, you could have 4 people elected from the same block in the same city. Because 2 are at large, the mayor's at large, and the district person, they could live in 4 contiguous houses to each other. We have had councils in the past where everybody was from the beach and everybody was from countryside, because we didn't have a residence requirement depending on geography. But the 421 system does not guarantee that you spread it at all. So I don't see that as a reason for changing from 5. And it does not also affect diversity, because if we divided the city into 12 or 15 districts, then your neighborhoods are small enough so you'll get more diversity. But if you divide 110,000 people by 4, there's no way with the size of our communities here that you're going to achieve any kind of guarantee of diversity whatsoever.
Sean, and then I'll come back to you.
Well, after listening to the conversation here, and Ms. Lynch and Ms. Director, I agree that we should think really about solely one of the things that's changing from 5 to 7 seats, because after attending that meeting last time, it was really clear and evident that we want the increased representation. And when looking at boards across the city, duties of the council members, I think I've understood that it can be challenging to always fulfill the outside duties with how many members there currently are, and that with 7 seats would sort of help lighten the load a little bit.
Ms. Lynch?
I was just going to say 421 is the only option. There were 6 of the options, 7 total, 6-1.
Out of the mouths of babes, he just gave me an additional reason why I could support increasing, the number of people on city council. Regardless of where they come from, just having more bodies there to serve on these various community boards, Pinellas and regional boards, etc. So I will admit that's a good second reason, Sean. Thank you. But I don't know if it's a strong enough reason for me to go through all this process, and I think I'd still stick to 5.
Yes, ma'am.
I just like the fact that I like coming from, it doesn't have to be diversity, like, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be an African American, for example. But what I like is to spread the people so that, as Lisa Lanza said when she came to this first meeting, she was so pleased that we were a diverse group. We were from different neighborhoods. She had felt in the past everybody was from the same neighborhood. And I have to say, when I think about the council now, I would say that many of them are from, or have a business close to the downtown-ish, the Sand Key-ish, the Island Estate-ish, you know what I mean? So that's why I like people from different areas. That would be my thought.
I just can't imagine what you're talking about.
Ish.
Well, and I was going to mention what Mr. Can you say your last name? Leland mentioned about the 421. Did I say that right?
Little Sand is a
Little Sand. Okay. Well, I got new bifocal, but I mean new progressive. Even.
I'll bring it close.
Can you do it for that?
The reason I don't like the 421 is that the council's controlled. If you go to, right now it's controlled, you got 3 votes, it's done. If you go to 7, you got 4 votes. So, and the cost factor, and so if you got the mayor, and then it gets, like I said, 2 at large, and then in 1 district. If the mayor and the 1 person in that district are on the same page, maybe more than everybody would like sometimes, then they get the 2 at large, you control the council. The whole idea of districts to me is 6 districts, approximately 20,000 people or so. I think the census is going to put us close to maybe 120, I don't know. But and then I also look at, like, we might end up with 7 men over 55 or 60. Mathematically, we could end up with 7 women under 30. Mathematically, it could come out anyway. We could end up with all white, all black, all Hispanic. That's not what I'm looking at. What I'm looking at is 20 years from now, if I'm still kicking it at 80, or 40 years from now. Because not that long ago, nobody in this room would be here if they were a female. Most likely, nobody would be here if they were anything but a white male. And then you go back further and further. We're already planting the seeds, sparking the enthusiasm. You have a district, it's going to grow, and then things are going to, I think you're going to churn and burn, and you're going to start getting that representation. I'd be really surprised if I wouldn't be shocked if we end up with 7 men, or I know of 2 women running, 5 and 2, but we had our longest running mayor was Rita Garvey, okay, before we went to cap it at 8. So I'm not really looking to see this dramatic, I agree with what you said, that Frank said. We're not going to maybe see, but we're laying the foundation and giving people an opportunity to throw their hat in the ring at a lower price in a district of approximately 20,000 people, and let the chips fall where they may. And there's no guarantee outcome. But the current system it's not a bad system. But we also had 5 people when we had 50,000 people. My 6 years, we had 7 people on the code board. So I'm just saying, just out of population, let's just expand to 7. I have a preference, but I can live with 6 and 1 and vote at large. It have to be looked at my notes so that Mr. Atkinson, I finally drew some lines. He did go 6 and 1, but at large. I prefer 6-1, and only the district people vote for people in their district. But I don't want to stay at 5 at large, the current system.
Yes, sir.
You do 6 and 1, and every one of the 6 has to come from a district. Don't you increase the chances that you're going to have no candidates from 1 or 2 districts? And how are you going to fill that? There's not an at-large election.
I'd really be surprised if you have approximately 20,000 people, if you have 8,000 or 9,000 registered voters in each district, that you would end up with nobody. But like I said, you could do the thing you mentioned, or we could just go to the next, keep it simple, the next highest vote getter.
But what I mentioned earlier was it would switch to an at-large
I like that too.
person.
Yeah, you could do that, and then you'd actually have an election. When the regular election goes, you would have an at-large just for that one district, because nobody qualified in that district. But I mean, either one of them would solve the problem. But the reason I like 6 is because you can't get a power grab. You can't get the mayor of the district into, like you said, 4 guys or 4 gals on one block.
Well, to me, the main reason for 4-2-1 is that each one of us gets to elect a majority of the council. Because I get to vote for the mayor, I get to vote for 2 at large, and I get to vote for the person from my district. So I'm casting votes for 4 out of 7 people.
And I was
on
on
a different system.
I was on that page until I realized that just controlled the council. And I see it's very secret. I can see 4 people, very like-minded, just running the council and just keep turning over the same people every 2 to 3 election years. And I mean, it eliminates the power control by going to 6 districts.
Ms. Agnew, and I'll come back to you, Ms.
I was just going to say, we do have to think this out though, because if there's nobody for that district, remember, if you're going to run, you have to have done it they have to have chosen by a certain date, so it's going to take a little more than, oh, we'll just do a filler in. You know, I mean, it'll have to be somebody that wanted it maybe elsewhere and is happy to have a position, you know what I mean? But it just couldn't be anybody Joe Blow. I mean, it has to be they properly applied, paid their monies, campaigned, I think.
Ms. Lynch, come back.
Again, in response to your concern that the 4-2-1 gives you a vote for many members of the council, I didn't hear anybody that as a concern from anybody that spoke. I didn't hear anybody say, I want to be able to vote for more members of the city council. I heard them say, I want district representation and I want increased citizen representation.
Gary Lee was the only one against districts.
Yes, sir.
I think we're doing just that. We're giving them 7 people. Are we not? And we're giving them somebody from their district. So we're accomplishing those 2 things. And at the same time, adding the benefit that we get to vote for 4 out of the 7 people altogether.
Like you said, 4 districts wouldn't create the diversity. You just said that a minute ago.
No, diversity is not addressed by having 4 districts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I didn't say that was going to be a goal. I said it's not going to be.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a result.
Yeah, like
What we
6 might
do.
help.
Of the options that I heard, 4-2-1, if mentioned, is not mentioned in great numbers. I did hear it once, I think.
Twice. So Kathleen, but she said 6-1 or 4-2.
Right.
And Frank said 4-2-1, and Patrick Rafferty said 5-1-1, and Gary Lee said he opposes districts. No, he wants an expanded council to 7, but opposes districts. But most of them all were 6-1.
And to your point, Kathleen, and somebody else said too, if nobody runs, I think if nobody chooses to run, it's not because we have district-based representation. I think it's an entirely different issue if nobody chooses to run. It's not because we have decided to break up the districts.
Yes, sir.
I just want to comment on how I view the public hearing. And that is, they were to bring additional ideas, something we may not have considered anew, but I am not bound in any way, shape, or form, when I was appointed to this committee, to listen to just what they voted as the maximum one, or they mentioned the maximum amount of times. It's my responsibility to do what I think is best. I wanted to hear as many different opinions as possible, but I'm not bound by what was said there.
Yeah, we could do nothing.
Well, and the opposite side of that is we did ask for their opinion, so I'm assuming we consider it valuable.
I considered their opinion, and I appreciated especially that Howard Warshauer's experience, having been in both systems. I thought we got some valuable information there, but it does not control or influence what I do.
I think that focusing on what we do if no one runs is probably the wrong way to focus right now, because that's something that we can figure out and put into the charter. I would focus on how many people, what you want that to look like, and dealing with that outlier situation that hopefully we'll never deal with, and we haven't dealt with to date, that we can deal once you decide where you want to go.
Can I make a motion just to go to 7? If we rule that out, and then that's off the table? Or did we already do that? We haven't done that yet.
No, we did 6 meetings into this, and then as a committee, you decided that we didn't want to put that cart behind the horse until we answered a districting piece. But
trying to unbundle.
right, am I correct? But you absolutely can make a
I'm just
motion
trying
as
to
you
say,
just,
if we vote majority of votes to go to 7, 6 and 1, regardless of how then we say, okay, now the only conversation is about, do we do it by district at large, or just at large for everybody, or whatever. I'm just trying to cut this big problem into pieces.
Can I suggest you do it 2 separate things? That first you decide you want to do 7 or not. And then the separate issue is, how do those 7 get elected?
Yeah,
I think that's what he's saying. So there is a motion on the table, and the motion is to change the composition of the current elected council from 5 members to 7.
With the mayor and 6 representatives, council members.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second? Any discussion needed
Yeah,
further? Yeah.
I will not support expanding the council if it means eliminating at-large seats. I understand there's a benefit to having some districts having a mix, but there's a value into having whoever serves on the council be accountable to the entire city, regardless of where they reside. And to know that they have to serve the entire city to get reelected and to continue in office. So I would consider expanding to 7, but I would not support expanding to 7 if it meant eliminating at-large seats.
Anybody else?
Can I just ask a question? Would you go for the 4-2-1?
I would consider that.
Okay.
But I think there needs to be at least a couple of at-large seats.
Okay.
Or leave it the way it is.
Through the process, I try to do my best to be a facilitator for this group and not give opinions. I think I've sometimes had to stomp my own toes on things, but I think I've done good. But Bruce, I do agree with you on that motion. I am concerned if we start losing that holistic approach to the city and being responsible as an elected official to the entirety of a city and to the citizens versus putting them in boxes. So I do agree with you.
I'd kind of like to second your statement right there and yours, because we were talking about trying to get people to spread out the representation with the, I assumed that the thought was that some areas weren't being represented. So, but your point is that if you go to districts, then you're going to almost guarantee you're going to elect somebody that doesn't care about the rest of the city. They're only focused on that area.
Anybody else? Comment? Yes, sir.
Well, then maybe I want to amend my motion or withdraw it and then make a new one, just to put this to bed. All right? I mean, I'm withdrawing my motion. And then my new motion is we go to 7-member council with six districts, but everybody's voted is at large. That means you get 6 district representatives, but everybody in the community gets to vote for 7 people. But that goes back to what Zeb Atkinson said, and from my notes, so we're going to have 6 districts. But my note was he had resident restriction. I couldn't
That's the residency requirement. Yeah, correct.
So resident restrictions for 6 districts, but everybody votes for six representatives from the council and 1 mayor. That's my new motion.
I'm not understanding that. say it in the, for
6
dummies.
districts.
Yeah,
Everybody votes for every candidate in every district.
but why have districts?
Because you have a resident
It
restriction.
gives you the residency requirement.
Can explain my
I'll read you the language that Zeb was referring to. The council shall be composed of, well, in our case, 7 members elected by the voters of the city, if you go to 7, elected by the voters of the city at large. Not more than 1 council member shall reside in each district. And then the mayor actually doesn't count in that. So it's 6 districts. You have to live in a district, but you're elected at large.
Oh, okay.
So 6 geographic districts, the mayor.
Sorry, I'm slow.
No, it's a little unusual.
Okay.
Well, it's not that unusual. It is the St. Pete system, but it's difficult to explain. But
I'd
that's
like
the
to hear the
explanation.
cons. What are the cons of that? I mean, I understand the pros, but are there any cons?
Each candidate has to campaign citywide. Makes
It
it more
doesn't eliminate
It becomes a cost barrier is still
But
there.
in 4 years, the next council can say, you know what, there's one thing that's still causing a problem or not, and that is the cost factor. It still costs $40,000 to effectively run. Maybe it'll come down, but it gets us 2 out of 3 things. It gets us districts, and it gets us expanded council. And it's probably a little simpler than doing 421, 511. Everybody's used to voting for whoever runs. And then if it turns out that, hey, everybody that wins is raising 45 grand, then the future charter could do in 40 years or 8 years could say, what's the one thing that's not getting us down to where it's more affordable? Oh, it's because everybody runs at large. But if we do, this is getting us 2 out of 3 things. It's getting us the districts, and it's getting us an expanded council, and it's over. And then future charter reviews can look at cost factors. I'd like to see the costs come down, but,
Yes, sir.
Clarification on that arrangement. If you had only one person that qualifies out of that district, they're the only one, they're guaranteed an election.
yeah, just like now.
Just like now.
When people run unopposed. We've had that many times.
I think.
Yes, sir. And I'll come back to you, Kathy, and then I'll come to you. Yes, please.
And I think that's one thing too, the risk of that is you can get into when, even though they have to be elected at large, if the qualification for that seat is so narrowly drawn, and there's no opposition in their community, you can get into more and more horse trading. They know that they're very safe in their seat, and so now they're trying to trade for their district with others and trying to get a majority to really drive that. It comes to a survivor type situation where they're not making decisions necessarily for the good of the entire community. They're trying to get what they can from their own particular district.
But the rest of the district can vote against them.
Well, if they have opposition, but that's risk is that there's not enough people interested in running against them.
Yeah,
They want to do.
if you're a lone wolf, you're pretty safe.
I'm sorry, I'm ignorant.
One second. Kathy?
It actually sounds like a
And I'll come back to you, sir.
combination.
Yes.
It's districting, but they're voted at large. And so it sort of seems like everybody's kind of happy unless you get a case where only one person runs and nobody likes him. But he fits within that. Well, if they fit within that district and they're the only one running, so that's again the job that they get by chance, So, I don't know, it sounds like it's a combo there, but I understand everything everybody's saying. I just thought we were going to vote on number 7. I like the number 7.
Yeah, we've learned through this whole process that there's pros and cons with
Yeah.
everything. We have to identify that. We're never going to come out with a
Perfect.
completely perfect solution and solve everyone's problems, check all boards. It's just not possible, but it's making a decision that's best for the city of Clearwater and for the citizens of Clearwater, and trying to make that best decision. Mr. Anderson, and I'll come to you, Mr. Douglas.
And like I said, I'm kind of embarrassed to ask this question, but places are not districts, right?
Places.
Places, in other words, they were elected to place number 1, place number 2. That's not district.
Position, like position or something.
Those are positions, not district.
Right now, we have seats and they don't
Seats.
represent geographic areas.
That's my point.
But we would, if you do districts, we would have District 1, 2, 3 through 6.
And that's back to the other point though, when I asked if that guarantees an election, that does it more likely in a district scenario than it would be even for what we currently have. I mean, there's no district requirement today, and you don't have somebody running, like, other than one person for a place or a seat, then it's worse in a district scenario in that case, because you're more likely to somebody get elected that, maybe worse is not the right term. It's harder to find somebody in a district than it is to find somebody that's running.
In the entire,
Yeah.
and that's one of
Just
the,
for a seat, you know.
yeah, that's one of the negatives. One of the case studies I did in school, and that was what it involved, is districting. And there was discussions earlier that raising compensation has the ability to increase your talent pool. Well, districting also has the ability to decrease your talent pool, because you may be the two greatest talents in this community. If you're neighbors, you're not both going to have that ability, possibly because you're in that same, representing that same district, and not, so one of you is going to come out of that. So it also has that negative ability too. Yes, sir.
I'm just looking at this map. This is a map of Clearwater that the staff provided where people were elected from. And I'm thinking of trying to, be little God and divide it into 6, and thinking about how small the geographic area is going to be. And the smaller it gets, the more we have the possibility of nobody running. And more people running. We're having a problem with people running unopposed, in my view, now. But are we going to get people to run to fulfill the job, which I think you can't do while you hold down a 9-to-5 job? I don't think anybody can prove that I'm incorrect on that one. If you're a job that you can do at will, or you're a private consultant, or you're a multimillionaire, and you don't need to work, yeah, you can serve on the council. But if you have a 9-to-5 job, you cannot serve adequately your neighborhood or your community on the city council. And I think if we chop this into 6, we're really asking for a huge problem, huge problem.
I also had somebody at the meeting pull me aside, and one of their biggest concerns, they didn't want to say it publicly, so I'm just sharing it, this isn't my opinion, but they had a huge concern that if we chop that city up in 6 different districts and pieces, their concern was the Church of Scientology, and the Church of Scientology having the ability to direct their members on where they should live. And this is an area you should buy a house, and this is a community you should start living. I'm not saying that's a thought, but if you're saying we're dividing it up and there's 12,000 people in each of these pieces, I mean, you do the math, you're increasing possibilities, if that's good or bad in your brain. That's what it is, but that was mentioned at the meeting as well.
But that's probably more of a concern if you did district voting only. If you do it at large, that eliminates that problem. I mean, there's no perfect solution. We can't get the money down to run if we don't go to, you can only vote in your district for your candidates. So we throw that out, that had to be addressed later, but if we go to, and I don't see a problem with chopping up the city in 60, I'll tell you why, because it's not based on land, it's based on population. So if we have if a census comes out, we have 120,000 people, I mean, geographically, one area might be a lot smaller piece of land because it's more densely populated. Okay? As soon as you see condos, you count more bodies if they're registered citizens of Clearwater, voters in Florida and all that. I mean, a lot of people are snowbirds, so they don't vote. They're not residents.
You can't do it that way.
And it's not by voter, it's by population.
Oh, it's by pure
It
population?
has to be by population, by law.
But does it have to be homestead population?
Population, and you live where you say you live.
Even
Even if you have 2 homes?
Even renters.
Yeah, you have to choose your house.
Even renters, yes.
Okay.
It's not about.
Even renters who are only here 4 months out of the year? They're counted?
Well, the census counts them, in January. So it's that date. It's, the census says.
As of the census date, what is your primary
Yes.
residence?
No, it's your primary residence. It doesn't matter if you live
So
here.
the snowbird has declared their primary residence
Yeah.
to be
To be here.
Clearwater.
Yeah, I'm saying, but I didn't know if you counted, if I'm voting in Michigan, am I considered on the census as a person in the district in Clearwater?
Only if you say this is your primary
That's okay.
residence.
Well, either, if we have 20,000 people, approximately 18,000 people approximately per district, regardless of the amount of land, I think we'll get a candidate. Even if you get down to six or 7,000 registered voters who are qualified to throw their hat in the ring. And I also mentioned, I want to throw another 7,000 on top of each one of the base salaries, not make it a full-time salary job, but just to offset some of the costs, but that was killed.
Anybody else? I just have obviously we all have fears and concerns. I just have a fear that once we start doing that, we're deleting the quality of the representative that we're looking at, and we're trying to increase quality, it's not the competition of candidates. What it is, it's the competition of ideas. And when you open competition of ideas up through diversity or inclusion or whatever it is, it's better for the entire private sector. It's an organization, public sector. It can be a municipality or a city. Yes, ma'am.
So if we did 4-2-1, would that alleviate everybody on the council being from the same neighborhood? It would, wouldn't it?
Everyone.
Yeah, so that I could probably buy,
It would,
What?
it would eliminate everyone being from the same
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Well, if you wrote
4-2-1.
4 districts and 2 at large, so feasibly.
And the mayor.
Pardon me?
And the mayor.
And the mayor.
So I could have 4 people in the same neighborhood.
Yes.
You could.
You could have the 4. It still gives you the
It
majority.
gives you a concentration of 4 people to be next door neighbors or live in my condo building. So 4 in my condo building could be elected to run this, the whole city. Are you happy with that? I'm not. I live there. I wouldn't be happy.
Ms.
with
Lynch,
that.
I'll come back to Mr. Root.
Do we have a motion on the table?
No, it was not seconded yet, so.
Well, he amended his motion.
Yeah, no, even with the amendment, but it was,
Yeah.
no, he withdrew his motion and then he placed a motion, but it was
It
not
was never
seconded.
seconded.
I discussed it, I thought.
Yeah. Can I offer a
Well,
suggestion?
then, can I finish my,
Sure.
and I'll second his.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't do that yet. To clean it up, I think what our attorney read to us from because I think what Pam said was exactly the essence of the motion that was made.
Yes.
But it's much more articulate the way you read it to us. And that should be our official motion that we're voting on. I'm going to vote against, but I'm just trying to help you be clear about what it is we're voting on.
Want to
Do
read
you
it
want me to
again?
reread
Yeah,
it?
please.
Did you amend your motion to what she says?
Yeah.
When she
You're gonna read it again.
Is it option 2B?
The council shall be composed of 6 members elected by the voters of the city at large in accordance with the provisions, and then we'll change what our provision is, of article, whatever our article is. Not more than 1 council member shall reside in each district. The mayor shall be elected as provided in section whatever.
I think we need to change that first line, because St. Pete's the mayor is not a member of the council.
They're
They're going to
not,
say the
but they
mayor
are
and the
alive.
6 council people shall be elected at large, with 6 of the council people from districts.
St. Pete has a strong mayor, and
Right.
we don't have a strong
Right.
mayor. So the council shall be composed of 6 members, and then the mayor shall be elected as provided, and refer back to our section that says how the mayor will be elected.
Yes, but I think I realize we have the weak mayor system, not the strong mayor system. And that is
No,
the
it's
extra
true.
That's what it's
control.
called.
It
I know
is.
you laugh and think that that's pejorative,
It's not.
but in all the journals of political science,
all right,
they
sorry.
talk about strong versus weak mayor. And we have a weak mayor system, that's the fact. So
So we can do,
that's saying the council's 6 people, but we're having a council of 7 because our mayor serves as a council person.
and we can, all right, so we can say.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Shall be composed of 7 members elected by the voters in accordance with the provision of Article 6. We'll have to amend that. Not one, all right, so we have to make a little change to this because 6 of those members shall reside in districts.
Correct.
And the mayor is elected at large. So we are modifying this language just a little. The
But
mayor's
does
elected-
everyone understand what we're really voting on? Just because,
No.
Pam can come back later with modified
The
language to
precise
carry out the
language.
intent.
Let me verbalize my motion again. My motion is we elect 7 members to the council. The mayor, everybody votes for at large. The city would be 6 districts, approximately 15 to 20,000, whatever our census numbers come out to. We don't know. If we had 120, it'd be approximately, land size wouldn't matter.
No, it's
Body count.
population.
Body count, population. Everybody votes for every candidate running, or at least one candidate in every district. But each district one candidate will be nominated from all 6 districts. Everybody, you make 7 votes. You vote for 7 people. The person in your district, the mayor, and all 5 of the other districts. But you're going to end up with 6 candidates and 6 nominated people from 6 districts. It still might cost a lot of money to run, but if it's a 6 districts, everybody votes for everybody on the count. And then you were addressing that you were concerned that you would only vote for 1 or 2 people. Now, every candidate is accountable to every registered voter in the city of Clearwater. It's just you get 6 districts, you don't get 4 people in his condo building or 4 people in one neighborhood and theoretically 1 district when you do the 4-2-1. It balances out the representation. Everybody gets to vote for everybody, but you get 6 districts and it plants the seed for potentially getting more candidates, diversity. No guarantee. You might still end up with 6 old men. My motion is 6 and 1, and everybody votes.
I'm going to come to you and I'm going to come back to you. But is there anybody at this table that doesn't understand that language and what the motion is?
Okay.
So that we're all on the same page. We understand whether your opinion is for or against. Yes,
Point
ma'am.
of clarification, when you say 1 candidate per district, is that synonymous with residency requirement?
Yeah, the residency
Yes.
requirement, you have to live in the district.
That's what
There
it
could be
is.
10 candidates running this.
Well, I was going to say, to be clear, you have 1 seat per district.
One
You could
seat,
have
you
5
could have-
candidates running.
Yeah, we could end up having 25 people, and you have to pick 1 from each district.
So there is a residency requirement?
Yeah, district residency requirement, but everybody is elected at large.
Mr. Anderson?
Well, I think that was part of my clarification because you said 6 candidates. You could possibly have 3 or 4 candidates per district.
Yeah, I'm going to say 6 candidates will be elected,
Yes.
1 from each, but there could be numerous candidates per district.
6 council persons will be elected.
6 council.
You hope you get at least 2 candidates per district.
But I don't remember an election in Clearwater where we didn't have somebody either got in because there's no competition, or they got elected the first time and then they got in the second time unopposed. I mean, there's a lot. It's very rarely that we get not somebody getting in unopposed.
Anybody else?
It's in the middle under there.
No, before we vote, we do open the floor for public comment before a vote. So anyone from the public want to comment on that issue?
Give it a shot, Bill.
This is very interesting. I think what I heard is you're considering 6 seats would have a residency requirement. The mayor and all of the 6 seats would be elected citywide. The one thing that I thought of as your discussion has been going on, that elected officials need to get out into the community no matter how they're elected or where they live. And there's no real guarantees to ensure that that happens. It depends on the people that have been elected. I think sometimes we have good people clustered in a part of the city, but so those are just 2 observations to muddy the water even further.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, so we've probably exhausted discussion to this point, and we're all on the same page. We fully understand the motion being made of 6 council people and 1 mayoral seat, and all selected at large, correct?
Yes.
You're elected at large.
Correct. All in favor, voting in favor of that motion is saying that you want that decision to be made. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay?
Wait. If you can hold the nays, hold your hands
Go back.
up.
Aye, is this ayes or nays?
Nay.
All right, thank you.
So what is that, 7 to 6? So motion fails. And 5?
I thought it,
5? Those were nays.
so that left how many ayes?
Shall we do the
So
ayes?
we're 6 and 6?
Four.
Shall we do
No,
the ayes?
there were
Probably want to do it again.
Yeah.
Actually,
had
the votes
7.
in support, raise your hand, that way we can.
All the ayes.
What was that?
Ayes.
This is aye.
Yeah.
In favor?
Yes.
In favor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did miscount.
Mr. Schrader, how did you vote?
I voted no.
You voted no? Okay,
Yes.
missed you. All right. Okay, so yes, motion fails.
I guess, moving forward, does anybody from the nay side want to, she had an appointment, she's not mad at us, she has an
That's why
she's not taking her ball and
Really, anyone, I think, could make a motion, a different motion.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what I was going to,
I voted no, and this may sound strange, but my opinion on the whole idea of districting has evolved as we've gone through this process. And let's be candid. I mean, let's be candid. African Americans make up less than 10% of the population of this town. Latinos make up about 18% of the population in this town. So if inclusion and diversity on council is one of the goals, we're not going to get there anytime soon. That's just a fact. That said, I would like to make a motion that we expand council from 5 to 7, including the mayor, with all seats to be elected at large. And the reason I think that is because districting right now may not accomplish what we would like to accomplish, but as the population grows and as Pinellas County diversifies, I mean, I was at a county commission meeting yesterday, and the population of this county is changing rather quickly, demographically speaking. So I think, for the reasons that have been mentioned, increasing the size of council because of the responsibilities of council. Currently, it's a part-time position. I think increasing the number of council will spread out the responsibilities for each council member. And I also think even keeping the seats at large will allow opportunity for other citizens to step up and serve. I understand it does not accomplish one of the goals of, reducing the cost of running a campaign. I think that's something that, honestly, I think that's something that the citizens of Clearwater will address as we go down the road in the next few years. I think it'll get to the point where the cost will come down, sort of, because there'll be more people running. People will have to be strategic about how they spend their money. It's just my thinking, but I think now is the time, because if for no other reason, the population of this town is the time to, at the very least, expand the number of seats to 7.
motion's on the table to move from 5 to 7 and keep it as is. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion first and second. Any additional discussion needed? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to offer one thing on the population. The population was 112,000 in the last census, and the current report on the city's population is 115,000. So we've increased 3,000 people, which is 2%, 2 point something percent. This population is not exploding. It's barely creeping up.
If I may respond, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
And I'm not disagreeing with you on that point. But from the last census, the population and the business explosion in St. Petersburg, and in places like Tampa, and even in Largo and Littleman, is actually going to force the residential numbers of Clearwater to go up. People are not going to have a choice of where to live anymore. You can't go east or west because you got the bay and the beach. It's really going to get, I firmly believe it's going to get to the point where people aren't going to have any choice but to live in Clearwater. If they work in Tampa or if they work in St. Pete, they're not going to really have much choice to expand. Everyone's not going to be able to buy a house in Pasco County. So I think it's only a matter, the city is already making moves right now to address affordable housing. They're making very tangible moves. There are 2 projects going up in downtown Clearwater as we speak. So I think the population isn't exploding, but I think we're getting to a tipping point where it's really going to start to grow. And I think for that reason, I'm not saying it's going to be 10% on this census. I'm just saying the population is going to increase.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about something that's probably not directly relevant to what we're going to be voting on, but I would just offer that I have 2 paralegals right now who both for personal reasons had to look for a new place to live, and neither one could afford to live in Clearwater. So I don't
doubt that's the case right now. I'm just saying that I believe
there just isn't any place that's cheap enough. I think I pay a pretty good wage. I'm not saying I'm.
Well, I know that's not.
$7.25 an hour. Well, you haven't applied, but we can discuss your salary later. But I think we have a serious problem here with a lack of affordable housing, and it's the biggest complaint we hear from all the owners of businesses on the beach, that people are driving from Holiday or from, we have some people coming in from, not Lakeland, the other community, Plant City, to go all the way to the beach to work. My God, it's like 2 hours each way, I just don't see our population getting bigger, and I think the increase of 2% is so small that I don't see the need to expand from 5 to 7.
I'll come back. Can I come back here real quick?
All right. First of all, I'm a little surprised at that position because the president of the NAACP wanted to go to districts, but keep it at large, which was my earlier motion. That was the compromise. The other, I'm just saying that the head of the NAACP sees the benefit of districts. The other thing is, if you go from 5 to 7 and keep it exactly the way it is now, it's just going to be the exact same thing you have now. It's just going to be 7 people versus 5. It doesn't get any of the benefits of. If we're not going to go to districts, I'd say leave it at 5. I agree with them. It doesn't do anything. And the majority, even though there's only 12 or 13 people that spoke, at that meeting we had at the library, overwhelmingly, those people put a lot of thought into districts. And I think the compromise of districts voting at large was a reasonable compromise as opposed to voting in districts and you only get to vote for your district representative, which would leave you with the mayor of your one district. The representation, the benefit, and I think by not going to districts, you really are kind of insulting the variety of people and the diversity you would get from 6 different districts of this community. I think to say you limit the talent pool, but by just not leaving it at large by not going to district. I think that people would be surprised at how many people would be very good council members if they thought they had an opportunity and a chance and a voice right now. But just saying, oh, we have 5, but they're really busy, let's go to 7 and leave it the way it is a waste of effort. I would vote against it.
Yes, ma'am.
So as I see it, we have 2 extremes. You want 6 districts, you want no districts. I think the 4-2-1 is a nice compromise.
Sorry.
I don't know any other way to say this, so I'm just going to say it. I find your response to my motion offensive.
Why?
to suggest that you're surprised at my motion because the NAACP said something. First of all,
He represents the African American or black community, and they recommend districts.
Mr. Reardon, we do not all think alike.
I know that.
Every black person does not think the
I'm very
same
aware of
thing
that.
just because Mr. Atkinson said that.
I know, I'm very aware of that.
So I found your comment to be offensive.
No, I think what it is that I'm a
Secondly-
lot more inclusive than you are because you're hitting files in the chamber. That's what I think.
Let's
I
not
hope
start.
you stop that.
Yeah, let's not start playing that game, because that's tit for tat, and I won't let that, let that go on. So I apologize that anyone in our committee would be offended. I know that's never anyone in here's agenda. We've all done nothing but respect each other's opinions. We've all been completely open-minded, and these are strictly opinions that are being thrown on the table, and it's not a reflection of character. So I apologize. I hope we don't continue to go that route.
Can I call the question and let's just have a vote on 5 to 7?
You can, but I have to open it up to a public comment again before we pass the vote.
Mr. Public?
Mr. Public?
Mr. Public?
I have no words of wisdom on this subject.
Thank you, sir. The motion was first and seconded, and that was to move the composition of elected city council members from 5 to 7, and to leave all 7 at large. I votes in agreement for that, and Nate votes against that motion. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay?
Oh, wait a second, did everybody vote?
Yeah.
We lost one.
We lost one.
Yeah,
No.
We're short too.
I didn't see your hands. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't see your hands. I'm like, Okay.
Look at you, how'd you vote?
I voted for it, yeah. Motion passes. Composition moved from 5 to 7, all at large. Moving on, how did you want to discuss this? Or did we need to? Was this more a visual representation for the committee, or?
Yeah, I think it is. What we're going to do, as at the next meeting, there are certain items that you have given very specific direction on. I'll bring this back with the proposed language and the proposed change to the charter, and we can deal with those where you specifically, like this, tell me what you want to do. Then there are some other ones that you have not resolved yet, and we will go back through those. And then after, and some of them just required some minor changes and some recommendations that you wanted. For me, I think the ballot language had a change that we needed to make. And then after that, we need to talk about those issues that have been brought up by the public. And some of those issues are not charter-related issues, but we can also address those too. Well, for example, let me give you an example on the ethics and conflict of state law. Some charters will make a reference that you shall have your own provision on ethics. Now, ours doesn't. We follow state law, and we are bound by state law, but there are charters that say you must adopt one. So you could adopt a provision in the charter that said that. I know. I'm not recommending that. Believe me, I'm really not recommending that. But just because we don't address it in the charter doesn't mean you couldn't. And that's an example of one where you could and some do.
The other thing I wanted to bring to our attention on the back of that first page that we're going is the very first date on August 14th. due to a council meeting that needs to be rescheduled. The question from staff is, are we as a committee interested in moving that to the 21st? In doing so, that would mean we would have back-to-back meetings, which if it causes people problems, but we kind of feel that because we've taken so much time in putting into some certain topics, that calendar is kind of running out of time. So versus completely removing that day, we think we would benefit from keeping that on the calendar. So if we're all good with that, or if anyone has a problem, but we're going to try to put that on August 21st, if the committee's good with that. Not good for you, Bruce?
So you're moving the 14th?
The 14th has to be moved.
There's a council meeting, and so
So we need to
Pam and
do
myself
seven.
can't be at two places at the same time. It's no question about
I
it.
bet you could. I heard you could. I heard you could.
I've tried.
We need two more of you.
Could we not do it the day before, the day?
I've heard if you give her just a little snack, she can do anything. I'm sure that's what she told me earlier.
Versus, and Bruce's question is, could it be moved to like August 13th, like the day before, or the 15th being the day after to keep the 2-week spread?
What's the reason?
That's not good.
Well, the reason is it's the Florida League of Cities Conference, so I will not be here, Pam, if you're
Oh,
aware of
I'm
that.
sorry, never mind.
So that's the
So,
reason.
okay. So
That's
that
really
will
why
be
it was moved, so it was for the
The
League
whole
of
week
Cities
is back.
Conference.
The 21st is fine.
13th. I
15th is
went
Tuesday.
way around.
Yeah, right, no, totally.
Some travel commitments, made extra steps to preserve that 14th date, so that's why I'd like to move.
The 13th is the last day of summer. I think the 14th is the first day of school.
Yes.
So I'd rather push it out to the 21st. I won't be here the 13th, but in the first day of school. I mean, I would have been here the 14th, but again, it's kind of a crazy time. I think the only 1 year old kids in school, but I don't know.
Got one moving into college on the 21st in Kentucky, so that's trying to help them get started.
That can happen, totally makes sense.
13th is fine.
13 works?
No.
How about 15? Is 15 good for you?
It's not good for.
15th, that's
Are you
Daryl,
going?
you can do
I'm
something.
gone, but you know what?
Daryl can't do the 15th, so we're going to start getting into that
Yeah.
one person
Would
each
Nicole
way.
So we could have Nicole, even though Rosemary wouldn't be here if we did it on the 15th.
And is Nicole trade, but not cheap.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'll give her some snacks.
Yeah, reasonable.
I'll give her coffee.
Yeah, I mean, if we just have to buy her a cup of coffee to come, I think
Yeah,
it's
Chris
great.
said absolutely not.
Oh,
For
she
15th?
did.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
That is,
Oh, no, yeah. So, where do we want to go with that? The 21st obviously definitely doesn't work in Bruce's travel calendar, and we're talking about pushing it to the 15th, and now we're not working in Daryl's calendar, so we're kind of tit for tat
The
there.
other option would be is on the August 28th, and I hate to do this, on August 28th and the September 11th meetings, maybe just take it a little bit longer, half hour each, and so it's a little bit longer, but
I like
try to
that.
make up some
I'd like to
time
do
for
that,
the time
I like
lost.
that.
Yeah, we can do that.
That work?
yeah.
Okay.
We probably want to do that anyway. We extend the meetings a little bit.
Way
Well, by the
easier to add a
time we
little
get to that
time,
September
change dates.
meeting, I am hoping we are completely at wrap-up, completely at summarizing, and just really talking about the report out to council. So by that meeting, because we have, if there's valid questions, we've got to get to council, get a discussion with them. They have to direct the preparation of the ordinance. We have to get all that done. So we need to, that September 11th probably needs to be
Because, yeah, so.
our wrap-up.
Yeah, well, actually, we've got September 25th as our final wrap-up.
We have one more.
Yeah.
No, but 20th.
When do you want us to wrap up by?
September
September
25th.
25th.
But in my mind,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
September
The 11th.
So that's 2 more meetings.
25th.
Within 2 more
So we need
meetings.
to be done by the 11th.
Yeah, so Pam would like for us to be done by the 11th, so we've got
2 more meetings.
pretty concrete,
Yeah.
so if anything does occur on the 25th, you're talking very minor stuff,
yeah.
So,
Which means that we
What's
have
happening
only
before
August 28th
and the 11th.
to
And the
do
11th.
everything that's
To do
left.
everything that you have left here.
No.
We're not meeting again.
When is our next meeting?
The
Today?
28th.
of August?
Oh, I'm sorry, the
July.
14th. We have 14th, August 14th.
Well, that's
We're
canceling it.
Oh, that's right.
You're canceling.
So there's 2 more
So
meetings
the
essentially.
28th and the 11th, because
Yeah.
that is your meeting schedule.
So we really need August 21st, I think, to have 2 meetings before we get to the September wrap-up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we really need to meet on the 21st, even if we lose some people.
And who are we losing?
Well, you've made,
Bruce.
I think you've made your biggest decisions. A lot of this is going to be just making sure that we do the cleanup. We'll be talking about things like charter, how often you want to have charter review, and
Never.
every 20 years.
Yearly.
I think somebody said some cities do 20 years, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that is not uncommon. The county does 20 years.
Never
Well, you know, bearing in mind, I don't know about, maybe it's just me, but we seem to have trouble making decisions. I do think we need another meeting for those 2, you know, like the 21st, so sorry, you know, I almost think we need to have the 21st.
Can we do
So-
it earlier in August?
Yeah, or next week or whatever, yeah, I'm game.
I
I'm
can
back.
check the calendar at the office and see when this is going on.
Next week would be,
Because next week is the 20,
31st, it's the 31st, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That,
how do we want to leave it? Do we want to put it on the 21st? It seems kind of unanimous that we need the date. And unfortunately, Bruce will be okay with it. We'll miss your presence and we'll update you on any excitement you miss.
Yeah.
Fair enough, okay. August 21st, we're going to keep on that calendar. That way we have those extra days. I think that's important for us.
I'd rather have extra than
me too.
yeah, that you
That was 3.2, setting the agenda. Agenda item 4, public comment. Our lone wolf in the audience like to speak to us on any subjects.
Thank you. And I'd just like to thank this group for having these discussions. And it's an example of, if this issue was easy, the council would have done it themselves. And you folks went through and you invited the public to come and comment, talk through it very deeply, and I appreciate that. So
Thank you. I'll say one more thing before I move on and give Ms. Agnew the floor, because I know she has a 45-minute presentation she wants to do, and everyone's eager to hear it. But I just want to close on saying that as far as the committee, let's please just do our best to make sure that we're respecting each other, that we're valuing others' opinions, because it's differing ideas and opinions that move things and make cities better. So if we all got in here and agreed on everything, we probably would not be making the best decision for our city. So let's keep that in mind, that it's not an individual thing, it's not a people thing, it's an ideas thing. And having altering ideas is a good thing often. So, but I think we've all done a wonderful job of respecting each other, and I hope that absolutely continues. With that said, Ms. Agnew, your 45 minutes
So
clock.
Marilyn Kagan and I are on the census committee, because we just can't say no. And so anyway, I want each of you to take one of these, just to tell you about the census and to look to see what to look forward to, you know, certain dates and that sort of thing, and to encourage everybody. I love this. If nothing else, just humor me and read this bolded area, because I love what it says about the census. People have different ideas what they think the census is about, and it's important for so many reasons. And like here, to determine where to build new schools, hospitals, and build businesses, and federal monies, and new congressional seats. I mean, if you count, then your word counts. You know, your voice counts. So that's what I'd like everybody to do. Oh, sure, yeah.
that was it.
So anyway, we'll probably be harassing you folks just to, like, if you have a community group that wants us to come speak or something, Marilyn's going to do it. And she volunteered to be a speaker. But anyway, I'm going to go into communities that I'm going to find some new people to meet. So they're going to be sorry to hear from me. Anyway, but I want everybody to vote, and you need to encourage everybody that it's important. And so we'll keep mentioning it to remind people, because people tend to forget. Human beings tend to forget about dates that are a little distance away, but it's paramount, it really is. Thank you. And good luck. Okay.
Good job. Thank
Great,
you.
thanks
You're
so
just
much.
in that 45-minute
Yes,
window.
I did that, didn't I?
This meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful couple
Great,
weeks.
thank you so much, and
Look
we'll
forward
see
to
you
seeing
on
you
the
soon.